It's 6 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. The pastor wasn't able to make it, so I'm going to ask Councilmember Gardner to lead us in invocation. If you would, please stand.
Heavenly Father, we just come to you tonight, Lord, and we just praise your name. Lord, we thank you for all the good things that you give us. Lord, we thank you for our city. We thank you for all of our employees that work for the city, Father. We just ask that you would watch over each and every one of them and protect them, keep our employees safe from all harm and evil that come their way, Father. Protect their health. Lord, we just ask that you would guide the meeting tonight, Father, and that we would take care of the city business in a way that's pleasing to you, Lord. We just thank you for all that you do for us. It's in your Son's precious name we pray.
Amen. This time, Councilmember Graff will lead us in the pledges.
All right, if you would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now to our Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
You may be seated. We do not have any proclamations, awards, or presentations, but I do see some of our younger folks from Permian High School, so we'd like to welcome all of y'all. Next, we will move to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Move to other council actions. Consider a professional services agreement with Landgraf, Crutcher & Associates. Mr. Kerr.
Evening, Mayor and Council. We have for your consideration this evening a professional services agreement with Landgraf, Crutcher & Associates to provide engineering, design, surveying services for the construction or the design and engineering of line P and Q, which are major sewer trunks that we're needing to extend from the Darrington up the east side of the city to serve development that is occurring in that area, as well as very far northeast out near the Parks Bell area. And so the current infrastructure is about to exceed its capacity as well, and so these lines will relieve that load as well. So the contract is for $1,263,610. The two lines, line P and Q, are to be designed simultaneously and constructed pretty much simultaneously as well. We look for construction to be complete on line P by November of 2020 and for line Q by February of 2021.
Are there any questions for Mr. Kerr?
How much is it going to cost? Because this is just the layout and the surveying and the design, right?
Yes, sir.
What's the, I guess, the approximate bid that it's going to cost to do this?
We're projecting our costs to do construction in the $40 to $50 million range.
$40 to $50 million range. And I think you had said something about that probably in about 2 to 3 months you're going to be coming back for the water part, right?
Yes, sir, probably sooner than that. We have two major water projects, one on the northeast to help supply this area as well, and then one going to the southwest, so the Halliburton area and growing along I-20. Both of those areas are exceeding our capacity to serve them in water, and so we will be coming back to you with a design contract for those as well. And the construction of those, again, will be probably in the up to $50 million for those two projects together. The financing for all this is yet to come. We will have to come back to you at a time to start discussing how we are going to pay for this infrastructure. Yes, sir.
And one of the things that I want to point out is that, I mean, this is progress. I mean, we can't stop progress and it's going to move. But one of the things that I noticed was that, probably 60 to 70% of the trunk for the sewer and the water that's going to come is in Midland County. And, I see that we're building so much of a really good tax base for the Midland County area. And maybe there's a way of maybe partnering up with them somehow. And I also heard about impact fees, where at the end of the day, not all of it can be, has to be paid by the taxpayers of the city of Odessa. There's other options that we can look at to make sure. At the end of the day, if that's what we need to do, that's fine. But I just think as a city council, we have a responsibility to make sure that we look at all the options we have.
Yes, sir. I think one of the tasks that y'all have requested of us is to do a cost of service and rate study, because our of these types of expenditures that are coming forward, and the cost of construction. Now, as you know, we came to you recently with a TAPS contract, in which the TAPS are costing us significantly more than what they have in the past. And so we're going to need to address that. And in that study, we will be looking at all methods of appropriately funding and bringing options to you so that we can address those things. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Well, since we have a lot of young people here from the high schools, I want them to understand that when Odessa developers and the city develops property, be it housing or businesses, in Midland County, that means that the city of Odessa receives the tax money. But the money that would go for ECISD schools doesn't come here, it goes to Midland instead. The money for the county does not come here, it goes to Midland County. The money for the Odessa College does not come here, instead it goes to Midland College. The money for the hospital district here does not come here, it goes to the Midland Hospital. So to me, it's a very serious thing when we annex property in Midland County and people build in Midland County. Because yes, the city gains money, but everybody else loses.
Okay, any other question? Okay, I will entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
5-0. Thank you. Next, go to public hearings. We'll open a public hearing to consider the annexation of the city of Odessa of approximately 2,523 total acres of land adjacent to the city limit lines throughout the city's extraterritorial jurisdiction. Mr. Landers.
Mayor and Council, this is the third of 4 required public hearings before you can finalize annexation. And tonight is the first vote. So tonight, in addition to holding the public hearing and hearing any comments from the public, the council is asked to vote on this annexation ordinance. The second and final reading of the ordinance, along with the 4th public hearing, will be at your next council meeting on November the 27th. So there is a map up on the back that shows the areas in kind of that bright orange that are for annexation, and just following up on what you've already heard, you can see the majority of the areas proposed to be annexed are in the southern part of the city, while there are a couple of very small pieces in Midland County. The majority of this 2,000 acres is all in Ector County. And if you notice on this map, there are actually annexations in every direction of the city. So it's kind of symbolic of the growth that Odessa is having now in really all directions. And if this land, if the council does choose to annex this, that would mean that portions of this annexed area would probably be added to all 5 of the current single-member districts. So the purpose of this hearing tonight is to see if there's anyone in the audience that wanted to speak with questions or comments.
Could I ask a question? How many meetings did you say we are required to have?
4 public hearings.
Only 4?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I always thought we had to have 5 public hearings on annexation, but I guess we don't. So.
And we've had our 4.
Well, this is number 3.
Next will be number 4. Okay, this is a public hearing, so at this time, if anyone would like to come up and comment on this agenda item, if you would, please forward. If you would, just state your name and your address, please.
My name is Ron Ainsworth. I live at 5018 Mira Vista in Midland. I am the owner, or one of the owners and managing partner of Bosworth Investment Group. I have some questions and comments about some of the annexation. If I'm understanding that the annexation doesn't necessarily mean that there will be sewer and water provided?
If you can tell us, no, the annexation itself doesn't automatically result in city services, but it would allow you to request those services. The city has a separate ordinance that provides the process, the procedure for getting water and sewer. You make an application to the utilities department, and then the requester is usually asked to pay a portion, if not all, of the cost of actually extending that line, just like an original developer. Right. And this doesn't change that. It just simply puts it inside the city, so arguably you might get a little more favorable treatment in getting that extension to you.
Okay. Well, I've owned the property for about 28 years, and the first 2 years we were paying a fee to be in an industrial district.
Yes, sir.
Not to be annexed.
Right.
And I elected not to pay that because I didn't want to be annexed. I'm for annexation and have been wanting it for 25 years. But I don't feel it's appropriate to pay city tax if the utilities aren't available.
I understand what you're saying. Now, of course, the city of Odessa, like actually most cities in Texas, operates its water and sewer operations and funds separately from property tax money. So we don't actually use property tax to fund the operations or extension of lines for water and sewer. We do that solely as a user fee through the customers.
Okay. Well, and I have a acquaintance that ran into a similar situation with this and,
yes, sir,
and another Pecos, and there was a option there of a development agreement where the property owner would be subject to, if there was any development, would be subject to the codes and the enforcement of the city, but there would be no taxing until those services were provided. And I'm just asking if there's any type of thing that could be done there, because you own property and you pay city tax, you expect some of those services.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my comment.
Can you identify where your property is? I'm sorry, I don't know.
It's the large block. It is on the north side of I-20, and it is west of West County Road. You're just barely catching it on the north side.
Is it that strip?
Yes.
I'm familiar with.
It's a strip of spaces on the north side, west of West County Road, probably a quarter of a mile.
Is that down just north of I-20?
No, it's about it.
It's on the north I-20 service road.
That should the strips there that are west of the Industrial District 4 should actually just be right-of-way. There shouldn't be any private property included in that annexation strip.
We're on the...
Are you in Industrial District number 4?
Yes.
Right now? Okay, I'm sorry. All
Okay.
right. Yes, sir. There's actually a few areas in Industrial District 4 where there are water lines now. Have you talked recently with the
and that would be
Utilities
another question.
Department?
Who would I need to?
Mr. Kerr. right there.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Oh, no, thank you very
I
much.
have a,
Yes, sir.
Gary, I have a follow-up question. So what it sounds like to me, and so if they're not paying, or if they don't have water and sewer, but they're gonna be annexed, will their bill reflect that, right? Or they're just not gonna get a water bill?
Well, if he doesn't have any water service, of course, he wouldn't get a bill. If Odessa does have different water rates for service inside the city and outside the city, and generally people outside city limits pay more. One of the reasons why some people join an industrial district is if water and sewer is available, then it's easier to get that service and to pay the lower rate. But it really depends on the circumstances. So we would need to talk with each individual owner, or the utilities department would need to talk with each individual owner.
And what I've understood, and I've researched the fees versus, being annexed, the fees usually set up to be about the same amount that if he was, right?
The fee that a property owner within an industrial district is supposed to pay is a fee in lieu of taxes, and by law, it's supposed to be the same amount as the taxes. We, in this most recent annexation process, we've discovered that maybe we've been a little lax in our collection, and we may have some property owners within industrial districts who stopped paying the fee, and we didn't realize that.
So this would take care of it?
If they're annexed, then they would come into the city. If they've opposed it, we have 9 of the 200-plus property owners who have registered their opposition, and so they'll remain in a recreated industrial district. We'll bring those to you at a later time. So that for those who didn't want to be annexed and who shared that with the city, we'll just maintain the status quo by creating another 7-year industrial district area.
I have a question. Which one of these industrial districts qualify for water and sewer currently?
Tom is probably going to have to answer.
Tom's probably the best one to. I don't know if we have a map that shows our water and sewer lines that we could show them.
As far as qualify, they all will qualify.
No, but maybe 10 years from now. I mean, which one of these industrial districts, if we annex them, we'll be able to get water and sewer in a very, very timely fashion, say within a year or 2 years?
Well, again, kind of to back up a little bit, water and sewer becomes a discussion in annexations, and it's really not. It gets tied up in the annexation discussion when annexation is really about services that are provided by taxes. Okay, so you pay ad valorem tax, and then there's sales taxes. And those go to what we generally have a general fund, okay? That's police, fire, streets, drainage. As soon as a person is annexed, an area is annexed, the Public Works Department will maintain those streets. The Public Works Department will maintain drainage in that area. And the police and fire will provide services. Even our solid waste, which is not a tax-based entity, solid waste, you pay a fee. You get a bill each month for your solid waste collection. We will be able to provide that immediately because those are mobile forces that can happen immediately. Water and sewer receive no funds from taxes. Okay, it is entirely based on your water bill. And so in order to have water at your location, one, if you're within the city limits, then we are required to be provided as long as you meet the requirements to do so, which would be if the line has to be extended 500 feet or 1,000 feet or whatever, you will need to participate in the cost of that construction. And so we will extend the line based on your providing your portion of the cost, and then we will have it constructed. So the principles to when will it happen has to do with when the agreement is made as to being able to provide the funds and for it to be designed and built. So the timing there's no specific timeline. I can't tell you that in 3 months you will have it. Some places do than others, and that's true. And so it may take a month or 2 more to get it there somewhere else. But the first thing we have to do is have an agreement that you're willing to participate bringing water, or and I say me, I present myself as the city, I'm sorry, the water so that we can get the sewer to you. If we don't that way, then the rest of the taxpayer extension, which is not necessarily associated, or not taxpayers, rate, okay? And I'm sorry, that's an important distinction. Use our understanding of what it means. The ratepayers, the rest of the ratepayers have to, it doesn't specifically benefit them. And so.
Right, and I guess I asked anyway, when one person a couple of weeks ago said if he were annexed, and of course, yes, when would he be able to get, and I believe the answer was maybe 10, 20 years, who knows, You're not going to get it in the near future, was basically the answer he received. So, are there any of these districts that, if they're annexed, and if they request the water, these industrial districts are still not going to receive water within the near future,
No.
no matter what they pay or?
All areas that we are considering for annexation can be served, and they can be served within a shorter period than 10 to 20 years.
Okay.
They can be served in a much more reasonable period of time. It is a matter of getting the funding established with the participants, and then getting the work put together and done. I mean, we're about to build, I would say that's close to 10 miles of sewer line, and have it done within a couple of years. So physically, it's not that it's a problem. It's a matter of getting the arrangements made. And so, no, it's, now, I will give you a caveat. I put out a bid for University Boulevard, and we're not doing that yet. We're putting out a new bid here shortly. But I mean, nothing's going to take us 10 to 20 years or more. But sometimes it takes a little longer than we hope it will, but it can. It will happen.
Any other questions? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Well, wait, maybe there's somebody who wants to ask a question.
Is there anybody else that would like to come forward?
My name is Armando Rodriguez. I live at 1206 Honeysuckle. One of the things is I did have the opportunity to talk to a lot of the business and everything in that area, in my precinct 4, and they were really concerned about this because they want to have the service of the sewer line or the water line and everything else. One of the things is they say they don't see the purpose of annexing to the city if they're just going to pay the property taxes and not benefit whatsoever. Right now, they're very happy the way it is. One of the things is they're very happy that the service that we have been giving them to the county has been serving them completely. So until I think each city council member needs to go out and talk to the business people and find out the feedback. Why is it that they don't want to annex to y'all completely? And the thing is, like the person spoken, if they're very concerned about the sewer line and the water line, and they believe that they're going to pay for something that they're not going to receive. And that is bad, that's going to be a concern to them. They're saying, paying something and nothing in return.
Well, but as it is right now, they pay something in lieu of the taxes, which they are already paying now,
Yeah.
which will be equal to the taxes that they will be paying.
Right now, people living out in the county, they're paying only 4 entities. If they go in with the city, they're going to pay 5 entities.
But if they're already paying in the industrial agreement,
Yeah,
a fee
but-
in lieu of taxes, they're already paying it.
Yeah, but like I say, some people said they didn't want to. There are very few. I don't know if you have talked to a lot of people, the bilingual people or Spanish people. They're concerned. They have some confusion that they got there, which I tried to explain them what y'all were trying to do. So that's what I'm saying. I have talked to some, and people don't want to annex, and I can speak for them, but they're not willing to. They don't know where to come to and talk about this more in details, and that's part of your responsibility to do the communication. The only reason that I have done this is because I was out there talking to a lot of my constituents.
I appreciate it, and I think one of the things that was said earlier is this is the 3rd of 4th hearings.
Third.
And we do have notification that's been sent to everyone. I think if everyone would have been here to hear Mr. Kerr's explanation, very self-explanatory, very well taken care of. That's all I can say is that we do have an opportunity that we provided here for this meeting for them to be notified that they can come and ask questions. That's what we're here for.
¿Cómo pueden preguntarles preguntas? ¿Cómo le van a contestar ustedes?
I speak English, thank you.
Yeah, that's what I mean. As a lot of people don't speak good English, and that's a burden that you
Again,
do.
we have interpreters up here. They could have come and been here, and we've been more
That's what I
happy
mean.
to interpret.
A lot of times.
This is a free country. You have an opportunity to come in here and speak.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's very easy, but the thing is, if you want something to get approved, I think you have to help them out to convince them to do that. It's just because it's open and everything else, but if you don't convince them, like me, I took the time to talk to some of them, and they gave me a feedback on it completely, and that's what I did.
Okay.
Mr. Armando, I just have a question. You mentioned something about, I guess there's some miscommunication on because I'm being told that it's not going to be more or less than what they're paying now on the fee. And you mentioned something about 5 entities versus 4. But I don't get any more entities out of it, right? I mean, where do you get the 5th entity?
The thing is, the city, we would charge property taxes more completely, and that's what they're concerned with.
But I think that's what, I guess we're trying to make sure that we explain to people, that you can pay the fee or you can pay the property tax, which is going to be about the same amount of money that you've been paying. So whether you stay with the city or not, and whether we can get water to them or sewer right away, they're still going to be paying the same amount, no more, no less.
That's, I don't know, that's what, they don't feel that. They feel that they have another feedback, so that maybe somebody did not explain that to them completely, and that's mostly what they're concerned with.
Okay, so I think that's what needs to be addressed.
Have we sent letters out to all these people?
Apparently,
We have.
2 letters, and there are no residential areas involved in this annexation. These are all industrial or lot owners, or vacant lot owners for business purposes. We're just annexing the industrial areas or land owned by the city or land that's been requested for annexation or roadways. There are no residences included.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward and speak? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Do we have a motion?
So move.
We have a second? Second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
I'm opposed.
It is 4-1, and the motion passes. Next, we'll open a public hearing to consider the approval of the request by Wiley and Frida Brown Family Partnership. Mr. Brindley.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The city mailed out 52 notices related to this request. We had no notices returned. We did not receive any written protests, and we did receive 2 written approvals related to this request. The city council did approve this request on first reading back on October the 23rd of this year. The property involved in the request is located in the vicinity southeast of Fodry Road and P-Bar Ranch Road. This property is currently designated future development. It is vacant. Land use in the general area does consist of single-family residential development and related uses, and also vacant land. The applicant and property owner in this case, as stated, is the Wiley and Fredna Brown Family Partnership. And the purpose of the original zoning request of planned development single-family would facilitate single-family residential development and related uses on this property. The minimum lot size would be required of 10,000 square feet, but the just typical lot in this subdivision would be approximately 20,000 square feet. And there would be approximately 180 to 200 lots potential for this development at full development capacity. The property is located in the northeast part of the city of Odessa. It's situated north of the estates of Shiloh. The city's future land use map does indicate this area to be one of the prime areas for new residential growth in Odessa. And the land use map does call for residential parkland and open space development in this area. The proposed zoning is compatible with the existing zoning in the area, and it will be an extension of the existing zoning that's south of this property. The Planning and Zoning Commission did give unanimous approval to this request with the following conditions: that building setback and building height, parking requirements, and maximum lot coverage would meet the standards that's set forth in the single-family 1 zoning that's stated in the city zoning ordinance. Along the front of the properties, a 7-foot decorative fence would be allowed. On the side property lines, an 8-foot fence would be allowed, and behind the main structure on the side and rear property line, a 10-foot high fence would be allowed. And the planning staff does concur with the commission's recommendation for approval, and I'll be happy to answer any questions related to this request.
Any questions for Mr. Brindley? Okay, this is a public hearing, so if anyone would like to speak about this line item, please step forward. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Brindley.
Thanks, sir. Next, under ordinance, consider an ordinance to establish prohibited, that's easy to say, parking zones. Mr. Feldman.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This agenda item deals with no parking zones. There's a couple additional ones and one removal. First one is West Loop 338. All of what's in the city limits, which is basically from BI-20 up to University on the east side of the roadway, is proposed as no parking in the TxDOT right-of-way. Second one is around the Texas Tech campus at Golder and 4th and 5th. They have requested that all the street frontage adjacent to their property be prohibitive parking.
Noel, reason for that?
I'm sorry?
What was the reason for that?
The reason for that was 5th Street, 4th Street, the streets around the campus are a little bit narrower than typical Odessa streets. And so when you have parking on both sides, it makes it real tight for passing vehicles as well as pedestrians crossing the street. It's just vehicles parked, and so people are parking or crossing between parked cars, which is not a safe thing. So that's the reason behind that one. The third one is Noel Elementary. The school is trying some new options for speeding up the pickup process in the afternoon. So what we're doing is the south side of Sunray Drive, which is adjacent to their campus, prohibiting parking to keep the process flowing for the school pickup. 11th Street, this is the request of Village Place Apartments. They currently have both sides of 11th Street in that one block. It's currently no parking. They want to remove that restriction to improve or increase parking for their residents. And the last one is West A Street. Sagebrush Apartments on the north side of A Street, just east of West Loop 338. They're requesting no parking adjacent to their property to ease sight distance, improve sight distance coming out of their facility. So that's what these no parking agendas are about.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Fellow? If not,
when do these go into effect if they are passed?
So what happens is, since this is a no parking ordinance, it takes 2 city council approvals. So the second one will be at your second meeting in November, and then after that there's a 30-day waiting period.
Okay.
So we're anticipating January.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
okay, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Fellow. Under resolutions, consider approving Chapter 380 agreement between the City of Odessa and Success Foods Management Group, LLC, doing business as Torchy's Tacos. Mr. Murray.
Yes, Council, we're excited to bring this to you. This is, as you know, the Council has been very aggressive in their efforts to revitalize downtown. Several months ago, we came to you with the request that we be able to utilize some of the property the city has acquired in downtown for the purposes of economic development. This item before you will execute an agreement, the Chapter 380 agreement between the City of Odessa and Success Food Management for the construction of a Torchy's Tacos in downtown Odessa. The site in question is directly across from the Hotel and Convention Center. As a requirement, the owner of the facility will have to invest between $1.7 to $2 million for the construction of the facility. An additional requirement is that the owner maintain at least 60 permanent jobs for a minimum of a 10-year period. If that is not done, then there are some clawbacks for the city. But again, this will enhance our efforts in downtown.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Murrow? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion, Councilman Gardner, second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Yahoo!
Next, we move to miscellaneous for appointment of boards and appointment of officers. We do not have any. Next, we move to citizens' comments on non-agenda items. Jamal, did you have any?
No.
No? Okay, next is the personnel matters.
I would like to make a motion that we abstain or table this at the present time. I had comments before in the meeting that as far as the criteria to properly evaluate if it's judges and Judge Gregg and Judge Jones Is it based on cases heard? Is it based on total cases heard? Is it based on total cases to be heard? Is it based on fees? Is it based on, various numerous things that I did not feel I was adequately available to properly evaluate. Again, it's nothing against you, either one of you personally. It's just one of the things that I feel like it should be something that we all look at and properly evaluate accordingly. So I would vote that we table this matter at this time.
I second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, if you wanted this stuff, why didn't you let them know so they could prepare for this? I think that's very unfair.
Well, I didn't know how everybody's going to vote, Mrs. Graff, and
Well,
so I don't think I could properly tell them.
Information.
All
So
right.
if you wanted it, why didn't you request it of
Okay,
them?
was it requested? Other comments? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
I'm opposed.
Motion passes 4-1. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That's the only one everybody goes.